We're joined now by HuskerOnline Sean Callahan. Sean, good morning. Do you have an update for us and the listeners about what might happen with Nebraska's special teams coordinator position?
Yeah, nothing really official at this point, man. I know he's continued to talk to different people, and it's not a job that's involved in recruiting anymore as far as being on the road. The coaches right now are recruiting on the road at this point. It's a priority, but it's not like the old days where you might be recruiting a man down on the road at this time because you don't have the spot filled. So it's a little bit different because Ed Foley wasn't on the road recruiting either. It's the next 2 weeks are still really big weeks for the staff because they're out on the road doing in-home visits. You can do in-home visits with juniors at this point. His first year, you can do that. So there's a lot of other things that are going on right now, and I know it's a priority, but obviously nothing has really emerged as far as what direction Matt Rule is leaning.
Okay, Sean, then I think a lot of Nebraska fans just sort of wonder what is going on at Memorial Stadium. Like what period are they in? What are they doing now? What are the kids doing now? What is the team doing now?
Well, the team reported back this week. The classes started yesterday on Tuesday. So lifting and, things like that have begun, not the mat drills yet though. So, they've immediately got back into the lifting and beginning the winter workouts. And then in a few weeks from now, I don't know the official day, but they'll start mat drills up, which are the high intensity boot camp drills, that they'll go through at this point. But, the coaches are in and out all throughout the week. I mean, sometimes the coaches will be back. I mean, there are some coaches that aren't on the road at all recruiting, like Dana Holgerson's not on the road. Glenn Thomas is not on the road. So you have coaches on staff that are still here, but you're going to have 11 coaches out on the road when you count Matt Rule. And, these are the only 2 weeks left for Matt Rule to be on the road all the way until the regular season where you can go out a few days. But for Rule, these are big days to be out there because the head coach can't go out in the spring, and they can only get out a few days during the regular season during football. So it's a big time right now for Rule because remember, coaches don't go on the road in December anymore. So recruiting is the priority as far as getting out there right now, and then the team's just kind of getting back to work here as they started classes this week.
Sean, can you say unequivocally that in this portal period, it's over for Nebraska? They're not going to try to nab any more players. Can you say that?
I wouldn't say that yet. I mean, I haven't heard anything that leads me to believe they're bringing anybody in, but there's still always a scenario that they could get a guy in this weekend and start them in classes on Monday and Tuesday next week, and get them here because you can still make it to Nebraska by the 5th class day. Well, that would be next Tuesday, next week. They would be able to get here still. So
6 days away.
A scenario where you could do that. But each day that goes, it gets more and more unlikely because most of the good players at this point that you would want they've found homes. I mean, the guys that haven't found homes right now are usually, for a reason. I mean, they're not at the level you're looking for. There could be other reasons. So it's unlikely, but the window is still open for at least a few more days if something were to play out.
From my Sean Callahan. Sean, a guy that was coming to Nebraska, Marquise Groves Killebrew from Arizona, defensive back, was here for less than a week and then went back to Arizona. What happened there, Sean?
Yeah, he was here for a couple of days. He didn't even make it to his first temperature Tuesday in Nebraska, and he got a free runs on Tuesday if he would have made it that far. But he Sipple didn't get that. I wrote that and he didn't understand what I made the reference of temperature Tuesday. The ultimate babe in the woods doesn't even know what temperature.
No surprise
Tuesday
there,
is.
Sean. No surprise there.
Steve, we did that for
like,
FDIC. We did that.
Yeah,
but I didn't know what
Tuesday at FDIC.
That was the thing.
Tamara gave away homemade runzas.
It didn't register in my mind without the Runza name attached to it.
Well,
we've given them a free commercial. None of us have been paid for this free ad for Runza.
No, we haven't.
Anyway,
he got here and things didn't work out. I mean, I think some things are said behind the scenes with him and some other guys, and I think everyone's like, you know what? Hey, this is not going to work out. You just go back to. He went back to Arizona, and I know Arizona is happy to get him back, but Nebraska didn't sign him either. He was coming in as a walk-on technically because of spots, but he was going to be under NIL to help pay for his first semester, but. He went his own way, and he's back at Arizona. So when you recruit a person that you hardly know and have to do it in a week or two, things like this happen, and you probably honestly would rather get in front of it now than let it ride out if you know it's not going to be a fit in your program.
Sean, you wrote something interesting too the other day that caught my attention. It probably caught a lot of people's attention. Right now, Nebraska's just eyeing for scholarships 2 in-state products, right? Just 2, which is a lower number.
2026.
Yeah, I'm sorry, for 2026, which is a lower number than usual. Those 2 are
Jace Reynolds from Elkhorn North, linebacker, but I would say the number one priority in-state is Isaac Jensen, a tight end at Millard South.
Okay.
Millard South has at least 4 or 5 Division I kids, but only one at this point is being targeted by Nebraska. Amarion Jackson has some offers coming off injury now after the championship game. Not an offer guy for Nebraska. Jack Tamala has been offered by San Diego State as a quarterback. So they have a few more guys. Landon Von Segren from Millard South, an O lineman, just committed to Illinois. So they're and again, he was not offered by Nebraska after they had him in camp. So they're with this new NIL rev share era and roster limits, I think you have to be a little bit more diligent on who you offer, and the moves you make. And those have been the only 2 in-state guys. Deshaun Prince is another Millard South receiver. And he had an offer earlier from the previous staff. And I never got the impression it's a committable offer to Nebraska right now. They just, he's been around here and there, but you don't get the sense that they're recruiting him at to be a guy that's going to commit or anything like that. So we'll see where that one goes. But yeah, those are the only 2 right now. And I would imagine another name will emerge, but they're just going to let that play out here.
And the one that catches your attention a little bit is Amarion Jackson, because he's been so prolific. He's camped at Nebraska. He's put up huge numbers at Millard South. I mean, like record-breaking numbers, but no offer.
As a sophomore, yes. As a junior, when he had Chase Lofton and Deshaun Prince added, didn't have quite the numbers, which is to be expected when you have those guys. But I think the big thing is the speed. I mean, they've had him on a clock now at camp. They've watched him work out, and you're talking about there's 64 star receivers a year in recruiting, over 60 a year, and so you can. Receivers are a very hard position to get recruited at, and we've seen Nebraska bring in some highly recruited in-state receivers recently, and they're not here anymore. So you've got to make sure they're the right guys at that position, especially. And we're seeing Nebraska having to recruit in the portal. Really, the last 4 or 5 years, their best receivers have had to come from the portal. So when you take these high school receivers, you got to find Cortez Mills. You got to find Jeremiah Jones. And you got to find some really, really good prospects that are highly nationally sought after guys.
Sean, last thing, Shiaz Pete chooses Kentucky over Nebraska and Michigan the left tackle. Has Nebraska done on the offensive line seeking out anybody else?
Again, I think it's just a matter of who it is. If they're able to find the right player, but it's also very expensive. I mean, Shiaz Pete was going to be well over $1 million, and that was the market for him. So that's the other thing you have to understand is that when you go after players of that caliber in the portal at left tackle, you're talking $1 million, $1.5 million market for that particular one player. And that's the market. There's no discounts or coupons or bargains to get a guy like that. So if you get into a recruiting battle in the portal, like that's what these teams are paying. And, there's only so many of those players. I call them the unicorns of the market. I mean, there's just very few of them out there, and everybody will go on those players. And Nebraska recruited 3 of them this year. Isaiah World, Shiaz Pete, Elijah Pritchett. They were able to get all 3 on campus, and they were able to sign one of those players in Elijah Pritchett.
Sean, always good stuff. Thanks for the time, and we'll chat with you again next week.
All right. Thank you, guys.
HuskerOnline, Sean Callahan.